Welcome to Cardano for Everyone, a podcast series from Pasta Steak Pool. Each episode explores something new about Cardano in a way that's simple and accessible for everyone. In the mood for some Cardano magic? Let's get started.
So today, we're taking a deep dive into Cardano, especially its open source nature and this commitment to doing things the academic way.
It's interesting, right? Because they really emphasize doing things differently. It's not just the technology itself, it's the whole philosophy behind it. Think of science, how research works. You don't just have an idea and instantly assume it's right. You test it, try to find the flaws.
Right, got to make sure it really holds up.
And that's Cardano's whole development style. They call it their scientific philosophy. Starts with peer review.
So instead of trusting one company or developer, you get outside experts to check everything.
That's it. Imagine top mathematicians, computer scientists going over every bit of code, every algorithm, every choice they made, looking for flaws, inconsistencies, anything that could be a problem.
Like putting your work up against the toughest critics you can find. But I guess that does build trust. You're not just taking someone's word for it. You've got this whole expert community behind it.
That's key. And it's not just an idea, it's baked into how they work. Like their Ouroboros algorithm, the heart of their proof-of-stake system that went through tons of peer review, even presented at a big crypto conference.
Wow, so it's been through the ringer, ready for action. But for those of us who, maybe haven't spent all our time in a research, can we start with just breaking down what some of these terms actually mean? What is peer review? Isn't that just for really serious academic journals?
Yeah, it sounds like it. But peer review is actually crucial in any field where you need to build trust and make sure that things are high quality. So think about it like this. Imagine a team of the world's best cryptographers meticulously checking every single line before it even goes live. That's peer review in action.
So it's like a quality control.
It's about having experts in the field scrutinize the work, make sure it's really up to par.
And in the blockchain world, that seems super important because security and reliability are everything. But what about formal methods? Now that one sounds kind of intimidating.
But the idea is actually pretty simple. Formal methods use mathematical proofs to guarantee that software behaves exactly as it was intended to.
So it's not just hoping for the best. It's using math to prove that this code will work correctly from the beginning.
Yeah, it's like the difference between sketching out a bridge on a napkin and using precise engineering calculations to actually design it. It's using math proofs to guarantee the code does exactly what it's supposed to. No surprises.
So it's not just humans looking for errors. It's using math to almost make errors impossible from the get-go.
You got it. Like building a bridge, right? You wouldn't just feel it's strong enough. You'd use calculations, engineering to make sure it can handle the load.
You want that mathematical certainty.
Using these rigorous proofs, they check that the code behaves right, minimizes risks of bugs, vulnerabilities, that kind of thing.
Makes sense, especially with blockchain, right? Where you can't just change things later if there's a flaw.
Exactly. Mistakes can be forever. So getting it right the first time is huge. And Cardano takes that super seriously.
It's like they're building a blockchain with, rocket science precision. Every little detail accounted for.
Formal methods bring that same level of rigor to blockchain development, and that drastically reduces the chance of bugs or security vulnerabilities. And this really comes through with their commitment to peer review. So just like in the scientific world where researchers submit their work to be scrutinized by other experts, Cardano does the same thing with their protocols and upgrades.
Okay.
They undergo rigorous evaluation, so any bugs or vulnerabilities could have long-lasting consequences. A way to mathematically guarantee the correctness of software. It's like you're using math to create models to specify how the code behaves.
It's like having a mathematical safety net to catch any of those bugs or any before they become a problem.
And that's particularly crucial for a system like Cardano, which aims to handle billions of transactions and potentially even support national level applications in the future.
Okay, so formal methods, that's interesting. But it sounds like it could be a really time-consuming process. Does it slow things down?
For Cardano, it's a strategic decision. They're prioritizing quality and security.
Over speed.
Yeah. It's a trade-off, but they feel like it's worth it.
Okay, now another thing that I think is super interesting about Cardano is that it's open source. So you're basically saying, hey, world, come check out our code.
Cardano's entire code, research, specs, it's all out there for anyone to see. And that transparency is huge, builds trust, right? You're not just on blind faith in some company. You can check for yourself how this thing works. Plus, it means anyone can work on it. Developers from anywhere can help Cardano make the code better, find potential problems, even come up with new ideas.
So it's this whole global team of experts constantly making Cardano the best it can be. That's really cool.
Everything from their research papers, code base, is publicly accessible. You can find it all on the IOG website, GitHub repositories, and Cardano's official documentation.
And that builds trust, right? Because there's nothing hidden, so everyone can see exactly how things work.
And second, it fosters collaboration. So anyone can contribute to Cardano's development, from suggesting improvements, writing code. It's harnessing the collective intelligence of a global community.
And finally, open source ensures responsiveness. If there's an issue or a bug, the entire community can help. That's pretty powerful.
It makes it highly auditable. Anyone can inspect the code, which increases transparency and accountability.
So it's like you've got all these eyes on the code, making sure everything is running smoothly. So how does Cardano's approach to development enhance security?
Well, the rigorous scrutiny of peer review, the mathematical certainty of formal methods, and the transparency of open source all contribute to making Cardano a highly secure platform. A system built on such solid foundations is less likely to experience glitches or downtime. Cardano aims to be a mission-critical system, one that can handle sensitive applications.
People get really excited about Cardano. What is it about this project that makes people so, I don't know, enthusiastic?
It's a few things, I think. One, they've always been super open about how it's made. Open source, so everyone can see what's happening, track the progress, even help out if they can code.
Right, we talked about that before, how that openness builds trust, lets everyone work together.
And beyond that, they have a system, Project Catalyst, where anyone can say, hey, here's how we could make Cardano better. And the ADA holders, they vote on which ideas get funded, actually get done.
So it's not just the big guys making all the decisions. The community really has a voice in how Cardano grows.
That's the cool part. Makes you feel like you're part of something, you know? Not just another coin to buy, but a real project you're invested in.
I can see how that would be a big draw, especially now when it feels like regular institutions, they don't really care what we think.
Cardano, it's built to solve real problems. And that's a huge part of the appeal, I think. People believe Cardano can be a force for good, not just another money-making scheme.
Powerful story they're telling.
And I think it's starting to pay off. They've got a reputation now, one of the most secure, reliable blockchains out there.
So maybe that slowness, it was actually smart in the long run.
Definitely something to think about.
I'm curious about the future now. Where's this all going? What's next for Cardano? Any big milestones coming up?
Cardano's always had a roadmap, clear phases, each one builds on the last. We had Byron, that was the foundation. Then Shelley brought in staking, making it decentralized. Goguen was smart contracts coming in.
And now it's Basho, all about making it faster, work better with other systems.
That's right. Hydra's a big part of that. Plus lots of tweaks under the hood, making Cardano more solid, more efficient overall.
But what comes after Basho? Another phase coming down the line.
Oh, yeah, there is. Voltaire, that's the last stop on the roadmap as it stands now. And this one, it's all about making Cardano govern itself, you know, like a true democracy.
Voltaire.
The idea is the community gets even more say in how things go. Funding, upgrades, changes to the system. So it's about giving the Cardano community the power to really shape the future of the blockchain. That's pretty wild.
But why this focus on academics? Most tech companies seem to be all about, like, move fast and break things.
That's true, but Cardano's founders, Charles Hoskinson and Jeremy Wood, they wanted to build something robust, reliable, secure.
From day one.
From the get-go, absolutely.
So they went the academic route, bringing in researchers and scientists.
Yeah, and it really shows when you look at the sheer volume of peer-reviewed research papers published by IOG. That's the company behind Cardano.
Okay.
They actively collaborate with universities, PhDs, all sorts of researchers.
It's a very different approach than most blockchain projects.
Very different. It's really refreshing to see that level of commitment to research in a world that's often driven by hype.
Totally. All right, so we've covered peer review, formal methods, this whole academic vibe.
Mm-hmm.
What's the deal with Cardano's code being publicly available?
So open source is huge in the software world. It's about transparency, collaboration, community involvement. They can look at Cardano's code, they can examine it, even suggest improvements.
So instead of having like a small team, it's like having this global team checking, improving the code.
Yeah, and that openness fosters trust because there's nothing hidden. It also encourages innovation. A community of developers can all contribute to the platform.
I'm starting to see how these pieces fit together, but I gotta ask, why should someone who isn't a coder or like a crypto expert, why should they care about all this behind-the-scenes stuff?
Think about it this way. If you're going to use a platform for your finances to store valuable data or to interact with important applications, wouldn't you want to know that it's built on a solid foundation?
Well, yeah, of course.
And that's what Cardano is aiming for. By embracing peer review, formal methods, open source, they're demonstrating a real commitment to security. Knowing that the platform you're using is built on, like, solid rock and not shifting sand.
So we've talked about all this rigorous testing and academic research, but I want to see what's actually being built on this platform. Well, one area where Cardano really shines is decentralized finance, DeFi.
And that's where blockchain-based solutions like the ones being built on Cardano come in. So we're seeing platforms like Liquid offering lending and other financial services that could rival traditional institutions, all with greater transparency and accessibility. The combination of peer review, formal methods, and the transparency of open source code makes it a lot harder for vulnerabilities to slip through the cracks. Cardano actually encourages developers to follow these best practices when they're building on the platform.
But even with all these safeguards in place, DeFi still seems pretty complex.
It can be. That's where the beauty of open source comes in. With Cardano, you're not just trusting a black box. You can actually look at the code yourself, see how things work, and make informed decisions about the platforms you're interacting with.
Okay. They're really trying to maintain those high standards.
They want to make sure that the applications built on Cardano reflect those core values of security, reliability, and transparency. That's how you build a sustainable ecosystem.
This is all incredibly fascinating, and that's what makes it so interesting. It's a dynamic platform that's constantly evolving.
Cardano seems to be approaching this with a level of thoughtfulness and rigor that's pretty rare in the crypto world.
I agree with you. But what about on a global scale?
Think about it. Billions of people are still excluded from basic financial services, things like bank accounts or loans, things that many of us take for granted. And that lack of access can be a huge barrier to economic opportunity. Blockchain technology, and particularly platforms like Cardano, could actually help build a more equitable financial system, one that empowers individuals and communities no matter where they live or what their background is.
So giving people control over their own finances and ultimately more responsive to their citizens. Or supply chains where you can track every step of the way, eliminate fraud and waste.
Yep, those are the types of applications that could fundamentally change how we govern ourselves, how we interact with businesses, and how we build trust in institutions.
But with Cardano, it feels more like a collaboration, like a way to make these systems better.
Improve and enhance what we already have. Even if it doesn't achieve every single goal, the journey itself is incredibly valuable.
I see what you mean. The research being done, the innovations, the communities forming around this project, it all points to a more decentralized and equitable future. So to everyone listening, whether you're a crypto expert or just starting out, keep learning and keep an open mind, because who knows what the future holds. I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive into Cardano. And until next time.
Thank you for being part of Cardano for Everyone. We hope you gained something valuable from today's episode. If you'd like to support our mission of making Cardano knowledge accessible for all, consider selecting Pasta from the pool list when you delegate. Every bit of support helps us bring more content to listeners like you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you on the next episode.